Welcome back. Today we're talking about getting out and staying out of the sex industry. Ladies, we've heard your amazing choices, the bold choice to leave the industry really on faith, not having a strategy, not having a plan. And so that brings us to logistics and practicalities, like how literally did you practically survive?
I can answer that question. Once I left, I got a strategy. So I was in a 1-bedroom, and so I brought in a roommate, rented out the actual bedroom. I slept on in the kitchenette.
Wow.
I started cutting off all the credit cards and started paying off, when I got money, when I got a job, paying off the smallest one first, started trying to get out of debt. Believe it or not, I was in debt. All that money, I was still in debt. And just, I really had to let go of some things. Like, both of the cars were in my name, but I couldn't get the other car back from my ex. And so I just was like, oh, well, if it means my credit's ruined, if it means I'm bankrupt, like, I don't care. Anything was worth it. The price tag was not too high for me, and so.
That's great. What about you guys? Like, you go from having all this money, all this cash, what did you do?
For me, my madam was my drug dealer. So I didn't see a lot of cash. I saw a lot of heroin. So when I left, it wasn't like, oh, I'm missing money. It was like, wow, I need to buy heroin. So that for me, like, at the time I thought I was in heroin dream. You know, I don't even need to buy the money to go to the dealer. She just gives me the heroin. So for me, it wasn't necessarily the cash. I left, and in our country, the government puts you, you know, if you're unemployed, they give you unemployment benefits. So I went on them, and then I would go and I would say, like, you know, I'm a drug addict, and so you need to put me on this next level of that.
Wow. And
they did that. And I was just like, man, I know how to play the system. I know how to make the system work for me. You know, not pridefully. Like, I look back and I was just like, ooh, that wasn't pretty, what I did to the government. And so yeah, same kind of thing, slept on people's floors and was almost kind of homeless. And so for me, that was a big, you know, I had to swallow my pride and go, well, I've gone from selling my body and getting this money and using these drugs to having to detox myself, having to work out how am I going to do this, losing the boyfriend, because it was like, well, if I can't buy his heroin, he doesn't need to be around. And so that began the journey, realistically, of trying to work out, again, who am I? How do I do this? And I would try and budget, but I couldn't budget with nothing.
Yeah, it's a little hard to do.
You know? So again, probably like Harmony, I got a strategy after I left, but I still couldn't outwork it. It was still like, you know, these drugs still need money.
It's almost like treading water.
Yeah.
For a season.
Yeah, for a long time.
Yeah.
Barely.
And what about you, Chrissy? I mean, you left a major lifestyle. What did you?
Yeah.
How did you do it practically?
When I left, actually, I had saved up a little bit of money, not much, but I had enough to furnish an apartment. But after that, I didn't have anything. But I mean, I needed everything. I needed to buy dishes and, you know, everything. I had nothing because each relationship I was in, I bought everything for this relationship and I left it behind every time. So I had nothing, and I gave up, you know, my car, I gave up everything, my identity, and it was the transitional part that was the hard part, but actually staying out was the easy part for me.
Which actually brings us to the next question. You know, you leave this lifestyle and then you go from luxuries to having to make it work, sleeping in a kitchenette, going from house to house, you know, just having just enough money to furnish your home. Then how, you know, were you tempted to ever go back?
Yeah, absolutely. And the reason I love that question is I think a lot of girls feel that temptation once they leave and then feel guilty about it, and it almost fuels the desire to go back. Like, but it's so common to want to go back. Of course, it's like things get hard. I'm like, man, I could make so much money just right now. And even I'm 15 years out of it, I still have dreams about it. And I wake up like, like I have this life and I have a daughter, but I have these dreams that I'm back there again. And I'm like, how did I get back here? And then I wake up and I realize it was just a dream.
I think for me, it was like that, again, go back to the vow that I didn't know was a vow at the time. It was like, I just can't go back. It doesn't mean that when I got my government benefits of maybe $500 a fortnight, that I didn't think to myself.
What's a fortnight?
Every 2 weeks, right?
Just so for our American viewers.
Breaking it down for the Americans.
Thank you.
You are welcome. You're welcome. And so for me, it was like, so $1,000 a month, and I used to make $1,000 a night.
Wow.
So it was like, how do I do this? And so I didn't eat, you know, I was 80 pounds and I was sleeping from floor to floor, but there was never a moment that I just thought to myself, oh, you know what, I'm going to go back tonight. I would maybe wake up with it in the morning and think, oh, you know what, I could go back tonight. And by the time it got to the afternoon, I would just be like, I can't go back. It destroys my soul.
And Chrissy, you said that this was actually the easiest part for you.
Yeah, I mean, I had the biggest names in the business calling me to work on their productions and everything. But I think a lot of what helped was that I had people who ran my website and they hated God, and they would say, you're going to come back. They posted all over the forums. Wow. And I'm like, no, I'm not. I will never go back.
This is a time when stubbornness really worked for you, is what you're saying.
Yeah, I was rebellious in a good way.
That's awesome.
That actually, the same thing happened to me. A girl stopped me as I was leaving, was like, you're coming back. Everyone comes back. And I was like, oh, okay. Thank you, actually. Thank you for that, because it is because of you I'm never coming back.
I had the same thing. I was like, I think we've all learned to use our stubbornness and our rebellion for good.
Yeah.
I definitely was like, oh no, I won't.
This is an area I completely relate to you.
Yeah.
So coming up, our panelists are actually going to answer your questions.